Let's now put some perspective to the released PLE results. I'm joined by Patrick Kaboyo. Patrick is the National Secretary of the Federation of Non-State Education Institutions. Good evening, Patrick.
Good evening, Joel, and thank you for inviting me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you.
Of course, you know, there's some good, there's some not so good from the results that were released today. One thing that I found alarming is that some pupils, to date, are not able to score even 1 mark and are given 0% in some papers. How is that possible in this era? What happens exactly?
It's possible because in the countryside, let me say in the villages, we still find cases of teacher absenteeism. We still can find cases of teachers who cannot comprehend the very issues they teach, and this has been reported in NAPE reports, UWEZO reports, and many reports. That means that the issue of teachers has to be sorted through the national teacher policy.
So you feel it's a lot more about the teachers as opposed to the students, the
Whatever
pupils?
you see coming out of the students is a reflection of where the teachers are.
Talking about teachers, because we understand this time around teachers were a lot more involved in malpractice. Bundibujo is the most notoriously mentioned district. About 8 schools participated in malpractice, and we understand for some teachers were passing cheats to students, to pupils, and in some cases it was as blatant as the teacher getting into the room and writing on the blackboard. That is after pupils were forced, required to pay 50,000 shillings through their parents. What's the remedy to this? Because almost each year we seem to be, scaling high. When we think we have, nipped it in the bud, we are at it again.
The solution to all what we are seeing as academic challenges to having teachers who have no integrity, the cheating, the rampant leakage, should be sorted by having a national teacher policy rolled out in the country, which should clearly spell how teachers will be managed, sanctioned, retooled, capacitated, because the law, the UNEB Act as we speak, is as old as 35 years.
But is it,
old.
Patrick, is it just the teachers? Because your parents are participating in this cheating because you want your children to get aggregate 4 and go to some of these amazing schools. And that is why in some schools in Bundibujo, parents were paying 50,000 shillings for their pupils to be treated for.
There are pressures to do with what the quality of education is as of now, because people have not yet known the value of education and the objectives of education. People think that for one to get a 4 has gone through schooling, and that to me pushes us to the bigger question whether we need PLE at this point in time. I think we don't, because when you look at what UNEB invests in terms of managing this PLE, the two do not add up, where the students get and what UNEB invests.
So how should the assessment be done in your view? Because PLE is one of the assessment tools, it has issues. What's your alternative?
For me, in line with the recently launched policy, which is the TVET policy that looks at skills, skills now should be tracked from as low as ECD, primary, so that we can have an intermediate level of assessment. Maybe we don't need to assess children to join secondary school. We should be able to assess them when they are in lower secondary school to find what skills they have as they progress. But when we leave the TVET sector hanging and not connected to the day-to-day education system, we are depriving these children who we have not continuously assessed. So we have to move from the summative assessment style and concentrate more on continuous assessment, which should be our focus of investment.
Finally, Patrick, at least according to the report, is that especially the questions that require thinking were poorly done. And what I'm wondering, is it the mode of teaching? Is it the teacher? Is it the pupil? Where is the problem there?
For every manager or teacher in a school knows that when you say those questions, there are those that require comprehension, application, knowledge, and how you moderate them. It could be that most of the questions set were tilting to comprehension, and there were no questions for application or knowledge, or the either way. Meaning that UNEB also, as an entity, has to be policed. The headquarters or the ministry, or let's say a group of lecturers in universities, should also interest themselves to interrogate these papers before they are given out, because nobody gets to know how these questions were marked. So can we have a report that is shared to show that overly these questions were to a greater percentage application?
Okay.
Yes.
Patrick Kaboyo, thank you for talking to us.
Most welcome.